Hi, everyone. This is John Moore, otherwise known as Johnny Consciousness. Welcome to another episode. Today's episode is being recorded on June the 26th, 2026. Hope everyone is doing well, and thanks for joining me. So I'm covering chapter 2 today of the book UAPs in the Afterlife. New disclosures support centuries of psychic research by Dr. Christopher Noel. And he starts out his chapter 2, saying, entitled, I should say, "There is nothing else, the primacy of fields, the illusion of distance," unquote. And he opens the chapter with a quote from the physicist Sean Carroll, who says, "The law of physics are not about action at a distance. They are local. All needed information is combined nearby. Everything touches everything else and communicates to its nearest neighbor." The first section of the chapter is entitled "The Mystery of Quantum Entanglement." Quantum field theory, according to Dr. Noel, also known as QFT, quantum field theory, is the most basic explanation for physical reality in our modern times. Now, chapter 2 is the shortest chapter in this book, I think 5.5 pages. But in Dr. Noel's words, the rest of the book, quote, "in terms of cosmology and the nature of matter, which will frame our consideration of consciousness, which will frame, in turn, our discussion of UAPs." So already early in the book, he's linking consciousness with UAPs. Some things you have to kind of read between the lines. The mystery of quantum entanglement. Keep in mind here as I go through this chapter that I'm a layman, and a lot of the stuff I don't understand. Um, I somewhat understand. I would find it hard to articulate in my own words. So that's why I'm going through the book as I am. This is very cursory, mind you, but I just want to give you a flavor of the book. And I think he has a total of 6 chapters, I believe. Not too many, but he has appendixes A through I, and then he has footnotes. So it's a very comprehensive and well thought out book. The Mysteries of Quantum Entanglement. Quote, "Quantum entanglement occurs when two or more electron, photons, etc., exposed particles are generated together and initially interact," unquote. So quantum entanglement is at least two objects that are or generated together and initially interact, and then they get what they call quantumly entangled. This chapter can get, like I said, can get a bit technical, but all you have to know is the following. And I found this next part fascinating. There was an experiment that took two particles. What were they? Two particles that were entangled, and they set a record. They put them 35 miles apart, and when they both did everything the same at the same time, which seemed to prove that quantum entanglement, in fact, does exist. They were, they be, they quote, behaved identically in perfect sync. I guess Dr. Noel has a pet peeve. He said many scientists use words to describe this as influence or effects, or that the particles somehow communicate with each other. These seem to, when I was reading the book, I got the flavor he was kind of annoyed with these. For he concluded in this section of the book, quote, the phenomenon makes a very mockery of the very idea of distance, which is why Einstein could not accept it, sneering that it was spooky action at a distance. But his formulation was incorrect. The next section of the chapter is entitled, quote, action at a distance? False, unquote. James Clerk Maxwell, a Scottish physicist and mathematician, 1831 to 1879, quote, recognized that an electromagnetic field exerts a force that propagates, that is to say, travels through space or physical medium, not by crossing a gap, but by affecting the space right next to it, which then affects the neighboring space, and so on, unquote. Local, local, local. Dr. Noel insisted on that in this part of the book. He actually wrote it out, local, local, local. Now, space-time, according to Einstein, pictures space-time as a four-dimensional fabric that is warped by objects depending on the mass. As I said, some of the stuff gets technical, so I'm kind of just picking out what I see are the little gems that is pretty much in layman's language. So Dr. Noel concluded for this section, which again, remember, is action at a distance. He concluded by stating, quote, there is no need for mediation because there is no in-between involved. Everything is acting proximately in direct contact with its immediate surroundings. Okay, next we move on to quantum entanglement, and this is entitled Quantum Entanglement Demystified. Some concepts discussed in this section speaks about there is no action at a distance because everything is local. Entangled objects placed at opposite ends of the galaxy might as well be placed next to each other because they are united by their own quantum field. So what I believe he's saying here is, like, atoms belong to their own quantum fields, neutrons belong to their own quantum fields. What else is in? Protons are in their own quarks, etc. They all have their own quantum fields, and they pass information along each other. Then he goes, which I want to just repeat this again because the next part where Dr. Noel speaks of entanglement, he kind of contradicts himself. So he said entangled objects placed at opposite ends of the galaxy might as well be placed next to each other because they are united by their own quantum field. And then next he said the term place is misleading because the discovery of fields, each particle belongs or emanates to its own field. Dr. Noel boldly states that quote everything is connected perspective shows that this perspective to be at the very core of hard science. He concludes this section by quoting physicist Henrik Paas, who said, "The entire universe is one quantum object, a single field linked by entanglement. The classic concept of space doesn't make sense anymore." Excuse me, I have to let my little dog out. One moment. Go out. Sorry about that. The illusion of distance applies to time as well. Dr. Noel writes, quote, "For reasons too involved to develop in the book, everything is happening all at once, which carries profound implications for consciousness." He refers readers to his Appendix A entitled Einstein, Block Universe, and the Illusion of Time. So that gives you a sense of how complicated this can be. And Dr. Noel then links the concept of time as happening all at once to concepts of precognition and accurate prophecies that, quote, grace the pages of history, unquote. He concludes, quote, "Those equipped with clearer vision can occasionally see the future, and by touching objects, psychometry, encounter the perceptual presence of the past." Think about that. By touching an object, let's say this little bell for an instance. Some psychics can touch something and do a blind reading, and they could pick up all sorts of information about maybe the previous owner or owners, where it's been, where it's from. Not this one. I can't do that yet, but it does. One can really get these fields, as Dr. Noel says. I'm going to digress for a moment to help make this book, this information, kind of be real. Back in 2022, right before I began encountering UFOs and UAPs over my backyard. Go back to my first 1 through 4 or 5 YouTube videos. I go into great detail about these experiences. But at any rate, one of the ways I was doing this, besides reading books and doing exercises, I found a class. We did these different exercises, and one was a mediumship exercise, and we paired off, and we did blind readings. So I did this reading on this, one of my classmates, a female, and I saw this woman all in gray smoke in my mind's eye. And she was saying, "I was wrong about the church. I was wrong about hell. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. It's beautiful here. There's no such thing as hell. It's just, paradise, basically." And my fellow student then related to me that her mother, was it a stepmother, used to berate her because she was not baptized in the Catholic Church and she was going to go to hell. And she smoked cigarettes a lot. She was a chain smoker. How did I access that information? I did the technique as I was taught, and it worked. I haven't tried it since. That was, 5 years ago. But there you go. Where did I leave off? Oh, yeah, we're right at the end. So at the conclusion, to further illustrate how one can access information in time before an event happens. In this case, it's called precognition. He relates a story about Mark Twain. Just give me one moment. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to put on my glasses for this one. Now, this account of Mark Twain from his autobiography was recounted by Eric Wargo on Jeffrey Mishlov's New Thinking Aloud YouTube channel. Quote, before he was Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens was a pilot in training on a Mississippi riverboat called the Pennsylvania. He got a job for his younger brother, Henry, on the same riverboat. Between runs, they were staying with their older sister in St. Louis, and Samuel had a vivid dream of seeing Henry in a steel coffin wearing one of Sam's suits. He saw a woman come into the room and lay roses on the boy's chest. 3 days later, they shipped out on the Pennsylvania downriver to New Orleans, where Sam got into a fight with a boat pilot who foisted him ashore so that Sam missed the run back north. 2 days later, Sam got word that there had been a huge boiler explosion on a riverboat that killed many people. Sam took the next available riverboat up to Memphis, where he was able to spend time with Henry as he lay dying of his burns. The next morning, he entered the room where all the dead were arrayed in their prime coffins, except for one. His brother had been given a steel coffin. The nurses had been so impressed with the boy's stoicism the previous night that they all pitched in to purchase this superior coffin. Just as Sam was standing there beholding this scene, seeing that Henry borrowed one of his suits, a nurse comes in and lays a bouquet of roses on the dead boy's chest. Wow. Accessing information. Proximity. It's all there if we can learn to access it via these fields. And that's the take on chapter 2. Coming up is chapter 3, which is entitled Why Consciousness Must Also Be a Field, Information and Psychokinesis, PK. So please drop a comment where you're from, how you like the content. If you're not a subscriber, I would appreciate subscription. You subscribe, hit the notify bell, personalized, and what else? Well, like and share. And the most important thing that you can do in this dark world is let your light shine and be kind. And if you can't do that, at least try. Till next time, peace.